Nike, like your Nike shoes. I don't know whether you wear Nike shoes today.
No.
Unfortunately, the most have one pair at least each time. So Nike was inspired. That logo, that this is a wing, because a Nike is a victory, means victory, and always the victories have wings, because you cannot always be the winner. One time you are the winner, the other time I'm the winner. So the victory flies from one place to the other. But this Nike was wingless because the Athenians have cut the wings in order to keep her always here in the city of Athens, because they wanted to exercise propaganda. They wanted to send the message to everyone who entered here in the religious center that, look, guys, we're the most powerful. Because why? Because we have the victory, and she cannot fly away. She will stay here. It was the time when the Athenians were very arrogant, and this was after the Persian Wars, because the Persian Wars was a very critical point in the history of Greece, but also in the history of Europe. The Persians, people who live now in the place of Iran, they were a big empire, they wanted to conquer not only Greece, because Greece was a small country, the whole Europe, but the first land to enter in Europe for them was Greece. So they made a big campaign. They came from Persia, from the north to the south here, but during the battle, the Battle of Marathon, they were pushed back by the Athenians and all the other Greeks who allied against them, and they went back to Persia. But 10 years later, they decided to come again. This was 470 BC, better equipped and followed by the Emperor Xerxes, very powerful. So they came again from the north to the south. During the battle of Thermopylae, Leonidas, the king of Sparta, who was very brave, with 300 soldiers, he delayed them. They all fell heroically on the battlefield, but they delayed them, the Persians, to come here to Athens, so they came later. The Athenians had the time to evacuate all these cities, to leave the Acropolis, all the center, free from them. They entered, they pillaged, they burned, they destroyed, and they trapped them between Piraeus, the harbor, which is nowadays even the harbor of our city, the ancient harbor, and a small island opposite called Salamis. There, between that small sea passage, the Greek boats, the Athenian boats, because Athens was the biggest naval power of the ancient times, waited inside. The Persian boats entered, they were surrounded, and they were attacked from all the sides, and then 80% of the fleet of the Persians was destroyed. So you can understand an invader without his boats, his fleet is lost. So this was the beginning of a great victory for the biggest naval power of Greece. So the Athenians, when they returned here, they saw everything pillaged, burned, destroyed. So they had to rebuild their city. But this time they had high moral, they were the saviors of Greece, the great winners, so they wanted to show off to all of them their great power. So they decided to build Acropolis, but this time more imposing, with like serious building, everything made by marble. The marble came from the quarries of Pendeli, a mountain opposite Acropolis, and they brought it here and they carved it and they made all this perfect, this beautiful. They rebuilt all the downtown, all the religious centers, in order to send a message that they were so brave, that they were so powerful. So the others had to respect them. It was the time when they became very, very arrogant. But it was a happy moment for the history of art when all these ambitious but inspired people worked on that project to make Acropolis during the time of the ideal democratic leader. This was Pericles. When all this project started, it was 460, during the golden era of the ideal democratic leader Pericles. They started to rebuild and to show off their power. So it was a happy moment where Phidias, his best friend, he was the best architect, worked on that project to make the Acropolis of the classical time, the Acropolis that we shall visit today. This is the classical Acropolis coming from that time. So we will enter through Propylea, a monumental entrance, but before I will show you a concert hall that was built during the Roman times, 2nd century AD. The sponsor of that great project, that beautiful Roman theatre, which was smaller than the theatre, it had a capacity of 5,000 spectators, but it was roofed because the music halls were roofed places. The theatres were open places because, according to the ancient Greeks, the theatre has to absorb all the sounds of the nature, the sound of the birds, the whispers of the people, everything. But the music halls had to isolate the sound of music. So they were roofed places. It had a huge cedar wood roof that was not based on pillars, so it collapsed very easily. But at that time it was a very, very revolutionary, really, building. So it was a Roman theatre with a capacity of 5,000 spectators, and the benefactor was a corrupted man, but very rich. He was the Bill Gates of his times. He was a benefactor, but he has killed his wife, and he has killed his children, according to the rumors that existed at that time. He was a really abnormal person, a very corrupted person, and he killed them all because they all died without 24 children and the wife, Rigia, that was coming from the imperial family of Rome. She was a powerful wife, she was a Roman, so he was Athenian, he was an aristocrat, the richest people of Athens. So when he died, in order to relieve a little bit his bad conscience, he sponsored to the Athenians that music hall. Only one child survived, and this was handicapped. The last son, he was handicapped.
Okay.
So this is the only person of the family who survived. So in order to relieve his bad conscience, he sponsored to the Athenians that Roman theatre, where he has put in the niches, you can see a facade with niches, where the Athenians have put the statues of the 12 gods, of the 9 muses, patron goddesses of the arts, and also the 2 statues of the benefactor Herodes Attikos and his dead wife Regilia. So let's go to take pictures of that